Hey church family, I want to come to you now reflecting again on this Maundy Thursday. I thank Walter and Michael for what they've contributed so far for this devotion for today, this three-part, if you will, just remembering all the things that Jesus went through on this Maundy Thursday. We come to the point now where we look at what has happened after the Last Supper. As they have finished the Last Supper, they now go out and they're going to go to the Garden of Gethsemane. And Jesus is going to go there to pray. And each of the gospel writers, they attribute an account to what happens that night. John gives a very lengthy farewell discourse, as is commonly referred to, from John chapter 13 all the way through 17. And Matthew, Mark, and Luke give actual account of what Jesus is saying there, very detailed, and they all sound very similar with the synoptic gospels of what is being said in their account. We know that from Matthew, Mark, and Luke's account, Jesus takes the disciples to the garden, and he leaves some of them there, and he takes Peter, James, and John with him in deeper for a moment of prayer, a time to stop and reflect. Jesus is at the point where he is very, very tormented, and he's at the point of death, and he's just so sorrowful and just all these emotions that he is feeling. And so he tells Peter, James, and John to wait here and to pray, and he goes even deeper into the garden, to what the gospel writers will actually say is about a stone throw further away from them. So Jesus goes there alone for a moment to pray to God the Father. And as he's there praying, he cries out to God, and he asks God the Father, he says, "Lord, if it is your will, let this cup pass from me. Let it pass from me, Lord." But he says, "Not my will, but your will be done." Jesus then gets up and he goes back to Peter, James, and John, and what does he find? He finds them there sleeping. And he tells them to get up, to wake up, and to watch and pray, and to be careful not to give in to temptation. The spirit is willing, but the flesh is weak. And he encourages them to pray, and he goes back into the garden again to pray. And there again, he cries out to God the Father, bringing the same request to him again. And once again, Jesus gets up from there and he goes, and what does he find? He finds Peter, James, and John asleep again. And he tells them to wake up and to pray again. And from Luke's account, we see as Jesus goes back in to pray, he's at this point where he is just so tormented by what is happening that he begins to sweat drops of blood. And it says there in Scripture that an angel comes to strengthen Jesus. We see also from John's account during this high priestly prayer of John chapter 17 that Jesus is praying this prayer to God the Father. And there's something very specific that Jesus prays for there that I think would be an encouragement to both you and I. I know it's an encouragement to me. We see in John chapter 17, verses 20 through 21, Jesus says, "I do not ask for these only, but also for those who will believe in me through their word, that they may all be one, just as you, Father, in me, and I in you, that they also may be in us, so that the world may believe that you have sent me." See, right before Jesus says that, he is praying for his followers in that moment, but he specifically right there in verse 21, he mentions those that will believe because of what they are telling, what they are proclaiming. You remember that right before Jesus ascends, he gives the Great Commission. In Matthew 28, he calls us to go and make disciples. He tells the disciples and the followers in Acts 1:8 to go to the ends of the earth, to proclaim the gospel. And that is the call for us as followers of Jesus. And it's just so comforting that we see in this last prayer to God the Father, this high priestly prayer, Jesus mentions, if you're a follower of Jesus Christ, both you and I, praying for us. I pray that that's an encouragement to you, and as you stop and reflect again on all that we've talked about this week, leading to what happened on Thursday, and now as we look ahead to tomorrow on Good Friday, reflect on what Jesus has done for us. I pray that it motivates you to live out your calling as a follower of Jesus, to share the good news. I love you, church.